my fellow mobile gamers? In today's video, these are things
I wish I knew
before I started Lord of the Rings Rise to War. Before we get started, make sure you guys and girls subscribe to the channel, notification bell, hit the thumbs up button please. It is greatly appreciated and it helps the channel out a tremendous amount. So we got a bunch to talk about, maybe a little bit of a longer video. I'm going to try and make this quick. First thing I wish I knew when I started this game: the more commanders you have early on, or just in general, ultimately the more land you will be able to capture faster. Commanders use stamina when they do things. So when you go and you capture a tile, you march, you'll notice if we send Gandalf the Grey, you'll see it'll take 20 energy in order for him to go and capture that land. So all in all, that means that each commander you have can capture a total of 6 tiles for their full 120. So once that's gone, then you got to wait for it to refresh. That is a ton of tiles that you can capture right away, as opposed to if you only start out and you only have 1 or 2 commanders, then you're kind of really limited. Next thing I wish I knew is how important it is to capture tiles that give you wood or lumber. Most of them are stone or ore, but the wood ones, they're kind of a bit scarce, at least where I am. And you'll notice that if you don't take those wood tiles early on, then people around you will come and they will snipe them out. If you take a look at my base real quick, I kind of did that at the beginning when I first started playing. I didn't really capture the lumber too much. I was kind of looking out, just trying to capture the high power and not really focusing specifically on what type of resource it would yield for me. And because of that, you'll notice a lot of my wood tiles that are kind of nearby that I should have captured, they ended up getting captured by people who were in the same faction as me. So I kind of really missed out. Of course, I can, you know, betray them and attack them and do all kinds of sorts of things like that and cause some shenanigans. Now, producing tons of resources in this game is important, but storage is not at a high enough level. It will be all for nothing. So make sure you level up your storage as much as possible. Never let it get behind, because you don't want to have a level 5 storage and you've got everything else upgraded and you've got tons of resources that you're generating per hour. Guess what? If your storage is a low level, you're going to hit your limit really quick and you might go to sleep and there's tons of time that's going to be passing you by where your storage is just full and you're not really generating any more resources. Do not overlook the storage building. Make sure you upgrade that as a very important building. Now, when it comes to training troops, in most base building games, you can actually speed up your troop training, whether it be with gems or speed ups. But in this particular game, there is no way to speed up your troop training. There is no way to bypass this. You'll see right here, I'm training 2000 T3 troops. It's gonna take me 4 hours. And guess what? I gotta wait the 4 hours. I can't come in here and gem it out or use speed ups. So because of that, anytime you see a troop training buff, you should jump on that right away. One way to do this is by picking the faction that has the reduced time for troop training, or what it is called as reduced time for conscripting. And that absolutely helps out a tremendous amount with putting out more troops. Also, if you go over to your buildings, the conscription post right here will speed up your time, so that way it doesn't take as long to train troops. This is another very important building that you should have upgraded all the time, as high as you can, to match it with your main hall. Quick, if we go into settings and then we change our camera view from normal to wide, definitely suggest you do this. Just by doing that quick little tip, you will be able to view the map a lot easier. Now, when it comes to gear, a very important thing to notice is just because you pull an epic piece of gear does not mean you should put it on your commander, because it's not necessarily going to be the best, because you can get one of these. The rarity I believe is called like fine, which is like this greenish. This can be stronger than a purple if you have this powered up. So if we look right here, you'll notice this one has a focus of 12 HP melee +1. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I do have these equipped to some of the characters. So because if we go, let me just show you real quick. Some of these might not be 100% familiar with the item. It won't show you the full amount of power. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You'll see right here, it says 100%. That means they're familiar with the item, so they get the full buff. But right here, this is 3-starred up. We get a 12+ focus, where some of these, they don't really have that power early on until you start really starring them up. So like for instance, we have this, which is an epic, but it's might 6, focus 6, melee, defense 5. In particular, it looks pretty good, but depending on the character, it may not help you for the situation. So this wouldn't be something that I would put on Gandalf the Grey. Green right here works out a lot better because we have a high number for focus, which is Gandalf the Grey's main stat is focus. So something like this would be great. Just because you pull a purple gear doesn't mean, oh my god, it's amazing, I need to equip it right away. You really need to pay attention to the numbers, to the stats, because these greens powered up can be very, very strong. Once you unlock the market, this is a game changer. You can get great value from the market if you take advantage of it. And you'll notice you'll get 50% discounts on some things, 20%. A great way to trade one resource for another, a great way to get speed up. Now, when it comes to gold, there's a few different ways you can use your gold. In particular, the market, like I just mentioned, is a great way. You'll find some things in the market that you can use your gold to buy, stuff like resources and speed ups, which is absolutely amazing. But the number one thing that I'm going to suggest is early on, do not make the mistake of using your gold to upgrade your T1 troops. So if we go and we look at, I think I did it when I first started, I upgrade some of them. Yeah, right here I used a bit of gold, not too much. But right here, you can use your gold to upgrade your troops' like special ability. Don't waste your gold to upgrade the T1's ability, because you will have T2 before you know it. You get T2 troops very fast in this game. It's not worth it to waste your gold on the T1s. Save it for the T2 and up troops, because they are going to be your main focus mid to late game. Early game T1s, like just upgrading them, it's kind of pointless. You're just going to be capturing low tiles early on, just trying to get your base up and running. Then once you unlock those T2s, that's when you can start using your gold to upgrade their abilities. Now, depending on the map, this is going to be suggestive depending on what faction you pick, but I definitely suggest that you build towards the middle. Each faction has a different starting point. I am in the top right corner, so I want to start to build more towards the middle. So if you start on one of these edges, a number one thing you don't want to do is kind of like build behind yourself. So see how I kind of took a lot of these tiles behind myself? That's kind of wasted, because ultimately you're not going to be really moving behind yourself. You're going to be moving towards the middle. You want to keep progressing forward. You can capture those special buildings that generate you tons of power, tons of resources. But more importantly, you have some specific troops right here that you can hire. And if you capture certain buildings out on the map, you can hire very powerful troops. I mean, they're absolutely insane. And that is what you want to be doing. You want to be progressing towards the middle, not behind yourself, not to the left, to the right. You just want to move forward. Going behind yourself for a little bit is okay, but like I wouldn't extend ridiculously far, because at that point you're kind of just not really progressing anywhere. You want to be not only capturing tiles to generate resources, but also moving forward on the map. So that way you're getting double value. You're moving forward to better things, and capturing tiles. This is something that I want to talk about that has to do with war, and I wish I knew this before I started, is that there are no way to stop your troops from dying. You will always have casualties. And what I mean by that is, in most games, and a lot of these base building war games, when you're doing like PvE content, the damage that your army suffers, you usually have those troops go immediately to the hospital, and until your hospital fills up, then you will suffer dead troops. But in this game, it's different. No matter what, you can always have troops die, and once they die, that's it. They're gone forever. There is no way to bring them back. You'll notice they're as wounded and dead. Even if your hospital hasn't reached its capacity, doesn't matter, you can still suffer casualties when going out on the battlefield. But that is it for today, folks. A bit of a long video, just a lot to talk about. These are a bunch of different things that I wish I knew. There's probably a few more, but I just didn't want to make this like a 30-minute video or some ridiculous amount. I tried to pick out the important part. Enjoy the video, stay happy, stay safe, and I'll see y'all very soon with another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. Peace.